I'm going to mute your computer audio. If I know I'm muting myself, of like the actual speaker, because otherwise I'm going to hear myself in the speaker and it's going to feel like a feedback loop. You know what I mean?
We good too.
Should be good. Should be good. Yeah, awesome.
Okay, are we going for it, Johnny?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to this student ambassador event, and we're going to tell you guys why you should join the student ambassador team. My name is Brian, and I am a student ambassador at the Merchant City House in Glasgow, and I'm studying at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. Fantastic school, and I'm also a student ambassador, like I said. Going to hand over to Alex for a quick introduction.
Yeah, continue.
That's all right, guys. So coming in. 3, 2, 1. All right. Hello, guys. Hi. I'm Alex, student ambassador here at Newcastle. So my mistake. I'm here in Newcastle. I'm a student ambassador. I'm living at Wellington Street Plaza this year. This is my second year being a student ambassador. I'm a computer science student at Newcastle Uni, and yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit how it is to be a student ambassador. With the experiences, me and Brian are gonna walk you through that. So let's go. So first thing I'm gonna talk to you guys about is just about supporting the student community, which is a very fancy name, which actually just is, what are you actually gonna be doing? So I'll tell you about that right now. The next slide. Right, so what am I doing? What will I be doing? What was I doing? So your main responsibilities as a student ambassador are kind of a variety of things. A lot of people think that student ambassador is just kind of hosting events or, you know, kind of being a point of contact, but it's a lot of different things. So the biggest thing, in my opinion, is just being a point of contact for students. So students, especially ones in first year who are going to be here, aren't really going to know how everything works. They aren't going to know who to talk to. They're not going to know who they want to ask stuff to or whatever. So you're going to be that point of contact. You're going to be around the building. They're going to see you, going to come up to you, ask you questions. They're going to give you feedback on events and stuff. It's just going to be a variety of things. And kind of building on that is the fostering of confidence and security. As soon as the students will see that there's someone, you know, both around their age and kind of in their own situation who's working with the student accommodation, it gives them a lot of kind of just more confidence in it. They know what's going on. For someone who's never had to, like, you know, pay rent or like have bills or like had issue with a variety of stuff, it can sometimes be really scary because, you know, it seems like big grown-up adult world, but seeing that you're there, you're going through it same as them and they could talk to you about it, it really does kind of calm them down. And another really important thing is just kind of building on that again, is just a friendly atmosphere. Uni, as much as it is to learn and do stuff, you really do want to give them a fun time, a fun experience. Just, you know, just going around talking. You're not forced to be everyone's friend, but, you know, just kind of creating these events, creating a fun atmosphere, just kind of starting up a conversation, creating more so that it's not just like a place you're living, but it's a kind of student community in these buildings. Another thing that we advocate for a lot, and the uni does, and a bunch of things, is really just stress, anxiety, mental health, just prevention. So again, with being a point of contact, sometimes you will have students who come up to you who are either stressed about rent payments or stressed about maybe something's broken in their house, maybe they've broken something, whatever it is. I've had many students come up to me to ask me questions, either through messages or whatever. Your role there really is just trying to like let them know, hey, it's gonna be all right, get this sorted out, let's get you to the right people, we'll get everything fixed. I'll point it out later again because it is an important thing. Don't feel like it's your job to, you know, be a therapist, be a psychologist. Your point is to point people where to go and kind of let them know that it's going to be all right. That's all it is. We don't want to put that kind of stress to you. And again, being a friend, that just all goes there. Sometimes they'll be really cool people and you'll become friends. Sometimes people will just see you, they'll be a bit lonely, especially first year. People will sometimes have some difficulty making friends. You really are there just to kind of like talk to them, introduce them to new people, be a friend for them, let them know out. Now, you don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to go on sleepovers with them, but, just striking up a conversation can really, really, really do a lot for someone's confidence who's, a bit of a scared situation, a new place, new city, new living environment, all that kind of stuff. And as well, the most fun part, the physical tasks. So this year there was quite a bit of that, which in my case, as you can see in the beautiful picture, was bringing mail to people who were in a COVID household. That from just a variety of things that it is. So in that case, it was doing mail. Other times, putting up posters. Other times, it can be packages, bringing stuff. It can be a variety of stuff. But sometimes, you're not a work mule, so you're not there to do all the physical tasks while all the Unite staff sit drinking their coffee. But sometimes just give a helping hand out to some stuff, and that can be really, really useful. And yeah, and then we can move on to the next slide. No worries, no worries. Righty-ho, moving to the next slide. Yes. So just kind of building on what I said before, our point really is to make the students feel valued. The students are important. The students are, it's like, we want you here. We want to know what's going on. So the events at the end of the day are for the students. We're not doing events for Unite staff, for Unite corporate to make, Unite happy or whatever. It really is, we're trying to do stuff that the students like and that the students will enjoy. So obviously, Unite has a lot of experience in the past, so they kind of know what events work and what events don't. But obviously, every single accommodation varies. So what we always try to do, especially at the beginning, is kind of do an event and then get some feedback on it, be that through Facebook, be that through in-person talking, just be like, hey, what did you think of the event? Was it good? Was it bad? What would you change? And especially when it's someone like a student ambassador, students will be honest to you. Sometimes if it's like Unite Corporate has sent you an email, students will just be like, yeah, this was great. But if it's just like you come into them, just talking to them, be like, hey, what do you think? They'll be like, well, drinks were kind of bad. Yeah, there wasn't enough pizza, whatever it is. It's just kind of really getting that feedback from them and understanding. And again, protecting the students. You really do want to make sure that as students are priority, this isn't anything too important. You're not going to get any fights or anything, but you really are just trying to keep the students safe, keep them protected, especially, if you sometimes have events, if someone like, you don't know, comes in or whatever, just kind of trying to control the situation. If anything happens, just dissolving that, keeping everything under wraps. But yeah, awesome. So we can move up to the next bit. Yeah, I see as well a couple questions coming in through, so we'll just look at those through. Before I move on to the next one, hi guys. Is it tough to balance job with uni? I would say not really. Brian can back me up on this maybe. He's doing even more than me. But I found that most of the time it's quite flexible, especially since you have a lot of student ambassadors. If for whatever reason you have exams or some uni projects to do or whatever, a lot of the time you can kind of be like, hey, I'm not available this weekend, can someone else cover for me? And again, it really isn't like a full-time job. You're not going to be on this, 9 to 5 every day. It's just whenever events are going, usually it's about one event per week, which you need a couple student ambassadors for. So nothing too crazy. But yes, so building on that, saying all the serious stuff, the work stuff, but it really is fun. It's no pressure. It's nowhere near as scary as it sounds, nowhere near as work as it sounds. You're at the end of the day, again, building on the mental health thing, you're there to refer students to where to go. You're not there to fix their sink. You're not there to help them out with stuff. If they have problems, you point them in the right direction. If you're in a difficult situation, you can talk to the staff. If uni work gets too much for you, you can talk to the staff and they will understand and help you through it. So at the end of the day, yes, it's work, but it's really, really fun. And on top of that, especially if you're coming to uni, if you're going to a new accommodation or whatever, you're going to be meeting a bunch of other students that are around about your age, maybe even on your course, and you're going to be able to hang out with them. At the end of the day, you're hosting parties, you're getting free pizza, and you're getting paid, as I said. It really is a fun experience. I've enjoyed all my time here, and it's been really good. And again, to reiterate on that point, as I can show on the next slide, the greatest bonus of all, it really is just like, there's so much pizza. God, every time there's an event, you're getting pizza and you're getting paid for it. It's wild. But yeah, I'll move over to Brian, who will talk you guys through a little bit how we're actually hosting events and doing all that stuff.
Thank you, Alex. Yes. So just to go off of what Alex said, being a student ambassador is fantastic, and I dare say it's probably one of the best jobs I've had, and I've had a lot of jobs in my time. The other thing Alex didn't mention is that you are sort of by proxy seen as one of the most important students on site. And if you are looking into being into doing a leadership role later on in the future, something like student ambassador is really useful because a lot of students look to you for, especially during the start of term, like who they go to for help. If they have any issues, they'll come to you, and that's a really good thing to have in your CV. But yes, part of being a student ambassador is to create events. And create decent events at that. And during COVID, this is the first time any student ambassador has had a different workspace, a different working environment. Because normally a student ambassador would book out a pub and get everyone into the pub and do pub quizzes, do karaoke nights. But this is the first year we didn't have that, so we've had to adapt and go on to Zoom or other online platforms. Now, the one thing I will say is that Zoom parties and quizzes suck. They really, really suck. And when COVID started last year, Zoom quizzes was the thing. Zoom quizzes was the things that everyone did. But when everyone sat through them for the last year, we don't want to do them anymore. And do a couple here and there, but people want to see some fun stuff. They really want to see some fun stuff. And sitting in front of a webcam, a party does not make. So we have to be really inventive with creating Zoom events. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Johnny. So back in November, I created Merchant City House's Got Talent. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but I dare say it was the best Zoom event that has ever happened in the history of Zoom events. So what's Merchant City House's Got Talent? It was a Zoom talent show, and it wasn't live. It was a video. It was an edited, pre-recorded video that was broadcast over Zoom. And how it worked was it was 40 minutes in total because I'm too peasant like to have a full Zoom account. And we started off with a sort of 5-minute introduction of just a countdown for people to log in, have a chat, get the laptop set up, sit around with a couple of beers. The idea was that people would gather in their own kitchens and watch the same movie on Zoom, and they could chat via the chat box, and they could just essentially have small individual parties, but with it being the same party over the cloud. So let's move on, Johnny. So it was edited like a real Got Talent, Real Britain's Got Talent episode. Same format, you've got the host that's a bit of a plonker, i.e. myself, and we got lots of students involved in some way or another. So these girls that I'm chatting to, they're just in the flat just above me. They're pretending to be people that are coming to audition, but turns out they weren't auditioning. They were actually just there for a party, and then they bugger off. Lots of comedy involved, but the great thing about these sort of events is that if students are actively involved in it, not just like passively involved, they will want to actually come up, and that is the most important thing, getting students to want to come to these events. So I put on a weird persona. It was really lame, but it was really funny, but it's sort of cringy funny. So if we move on, and it had all the bells and whistles. It had rip-offs of other TV shows. We had Merchant City House Cops, which was just the receptionist trying to close down a noise complaint. We had Love Island, where it was just some guy on Tinder from downstairs getting rejected. We had judges. One of them had to be myself. And we had people submitting, and that was the most important thing. People were submitting their own content, because I really wanted to do an actual talent show this year, but because of COVID it wasn't possible. So people sent in them performing from their own rooms. And this was great because flatmates would log in, watch their flat, perform, watch them have fun. And then we had about 10, 12 people entering in total, so a pretty decent amount for accommodation block with only 150 people in it. So if we go on to the next slide, Johnny. please. So yes, thank you. So we had violists, we had a one-man band, we had two guys dressing up in drag, lip syncing to it was some Britney Spears song. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember when I had this playing, I had my door open because I was running this from my room. The entire block that I was in, you could hear the laughter, you could hear the applause. I've never seen my accommodation so electrified by this one event. And eventually at the end of the event, so if we can move on, Johnny, please. By the end of the event, I had everyone voting with a form which I put into the Zoom chat. The guys in drag won by a country mile. I think they secured over 60% of the vote. And how I did it was over the actual event itself. I announced it via live via microphone. And you could just hear like the cheers, and it was great. I really wish you guys could have seen it. In fact, it's actually on YouTube if you want to see it. But yes, so the whole point with this is that this wasn't a Zoom quiz. This was something very, very inventive. And if you can be inventive, if you can have something which actually gets people involved and not just turning up, that's how you can make a successful event. So if we can move on, Johnny. Thanks. And yes, it was a total success, and quotations, the best Zoom event I've ever been in. Just blow my own trumpet. But yes, again, if you can make something creative, make it inventive, people will want to come. You can move on, Johnny, please. So what other digital events have we had at MC House? So we've had online dance classes. If any of you here is a dancer, that's a great one to do. Online fitness, if anyone's a gym buff, absolutely do this one. Themed quizzes, right, I know I said quizzes are a bad idea. I still think they're a bad idea, but if it's Halloween, get everyone dressing up. They'll want to dress up, they'll want to appear on. As long as they can be involved somehow, that's what I'm trying to get at. Online karaoke, that's a real winner as well. If you have any influential friends, if you've got any friends that have been somewhat famous, get them on a Zoom call. Get them to come in. We had Mama Sherry come in from Kitchen Nightmares? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Kitchen Nightmares. It was one of Gordon Ramsay's shows. And she came in and she gave us a live cooking class. Well, it wasn't actually a cooking class, but it was a sort of lecture where we could just ask her any questions about cooking, any food stuff, and just her personal life. I know it looks like there's only 5 people that attended this event. There was actually closer to 6. But there was, but it was actually pretty popular. I just caught it at the end when most people had left. And one thing we're actually doing in the next couple of weeks, we're actually doing a gaming competition for the gamers in the building, and we'll get them all over Discord. And the important thing about that is that we'll set up the event for it. But then after that, now that more people will have met together and now they know that they play the same game, that's now more friendships being created. And that's the other thing about being a student ambassador. Being a student ambassador, you have the ability to create these bonds between students that hopefully can last a lifetime. And a lot of people forget just how important what sort of impact being a student ambassador is on so many students. Certainly, going back to what Alex was saying, I've helped people who have felt very lonely, and trying to get them in touch with more people, I think has really made such an impact, and I think has made their entire university experience just a little bit better. And as student ambassador, like with no pressure whatsoever, a lot of people require you. A lot of people do require you, and these events, because no one's allowed to go out and see each other at the moment, these events can be a lifeline for some people. They can be, because it's something to look forward to, it's something to do, and it's something just to be happy about, really. Without these events, they would just be stuck in their rooms. There needs to be good events out there. Could we move on to the next slide, please, Johnny? So the most important things to know about any event: residents need to be actively involved, not passively. And what I mean by passively, I mean passive events such as raffles, free food. These events, they're not actually events. They're just something for people just to come up to reception, turn up, and then leave again. We want students interacting with one another, because that's what uni's all about. Uni's about making friends and work, I suppose. But uni's about making friends, about socializing. It's about developing yourself. Student ambassadors need to be friends with a lot or most people on site. Otherwise, there's going to be low attendance. Because why would you want to attend an event that you don't know who's running it, or you just don't know anyone that's going? The most important thing is be friends with the people on your site, and I can talk a little bit about that at the end, but it's important from day one that you start making these relationships, you start forming bonds with people, and then like your student ambassador events will just feel like, you know, just hanging out with your friends, albeit online. But if we manage to get to the end of COVID, when you guys start being student ambassadors, you can get some pretty decent events going. An event needs to be entertaining enough to hold attention. If the event is less entertaining than hanging out with flatmates, then what's the point? And that's this is a criticism I got, but it's a criticism I've heard a lot about other online events. Don't have events for the sake of having events. I think that's another important thing just to be aware of. You know, you can just say, I'm having a quiz today. That's great, but if the quiz isn't entertaining, why is anyone going to come to it if they can just go into Netflix or just hang out with their flatmates, which they're allowed to hang out with in their own kitchen? Events need to be worthwhile, and you can make them worthwhile by offering incentives, so prizes such as Amazon vouchers. And I believe that most Unite sites have a sort of budget for prizes, for takeouts, that sort of thing. There was one event I had back in, I think it was October. No, it was Halloween. Yeah, back in Halloween, where we offered them a prize of a free takeout. Unfortunately, that the flat that entered was a flat of about 8 people, and they were all in that night. So we probably spent about most of our budget for that term on that one prize, which I really should have clarified exactly what the limit was, but that was my fault. But yes, be inventive as well with your incentives. You know, what can you actually offer them? I mean, it's easy just to offer vouchers, but you know, think thematically. What's the season? What's in? Is it Easter? Can you offer Easter eggs? They can be quite cheap as well. So if anyone has any questions on that, let's. What made you want to become a student ambassador? What's one thing you wish you knew about becoming? So what made me want to become a student ambassador? Honestly, I was bored. I was bored. I want something to do, and I was actually the only person in my halls at the time when I applied for it, because it was COVID. It was COVID time, and I was the only person in my block, and I was like, just let me do it. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I'm studying events management. Will this help? Absolutely, 100% this will help. In fact, I actually can't think of a degree this would help more. But like 50%, actually closer to 70-80% of this job is events management. And I dare say probably the best first job you can get in events management. How many events do you have to do every year roughly? You could do one every week, you could do one every day, you could do one every month, but honestly, it's the important thing is that your studies come first. Your studies are the most important thing. If you're able to do more events, that's great. And the incentive for you to do more events is you get paid more. So the more events you do, the more you get paid. But it's really up to yourself. But if you feel like you haven't done an event in a while, then you probably should get on it. And that's why I'm getting on it right now. And I don't think Alex answered the question, but is it tough to balance this job with uni? No, because you choose the hours you work at. And how many hours do I have to work? Again, you can choose the hours. So I think that's about everything with events. How much autonomy do you have when coming up with events? Complete autonomy. I mean, I will run it past my supervisor first, but more often than not, everything's fine. What do you do to make people welcome? So this is what we call rapport. You need to build rapport with students, and this really starts from day one. From day one, students come in. You are the first person they meet. That and the receptionist and the security guard that's working that day. From day one, be their friend. That is my main advice. I know student ambassadors from other sites who didn't meet students from day one, and as a result, they don't have a good relationship with them, and they don't turn up to their events. That's how you need to be there from day one, and you need to make them make them your friend, and they'll naturally feel welcome. What have you done to help people's well-being? To push them into the right direction when they come to you with those questions. If it's something simple, if it's something really simple, generally, I will step in if it's something I've done before, because I'm a postgraduate and I hate to admit my age, but it's 27. But if it's something I've been through before, I will tell them my experiences, how I got through it, and generally, I think that's what people want. They want a friend. They want a friend just to be there for them. And while it's good to push them in the direction of, the mental health support officer, if you can answer a very simple question, I think that can really make the difference with people. How do you become an SA? That's a great question. I'm sure we'll answer that at the end. What is the salary of SA? I guess we will also answer that at the end. So I will pass over to Alex if there's no more questions on events.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Wish I was there for the event because that actually looked super awesome. But yeah, so to build on some of the questions you guys have asked, again, just don't let Brian have all the spotlight because I know he's very funny and beautiful, but I gotta steal some of that limelight myself. But so me myself, so at Newcastle University, they actually do a thing where for third year, one of my modules, I could have done some work experience. So I saw that Unite was kind of hiring. They were doing some stuff like student ambassadors. I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I kind of did it on a whim, honestly. Just had a quick little interview, a little talk, and ended up hiring me. And I was so happy I did because I enjoyed it so much. Super fun. Again, that was all mega fun. Again, as Brian said, the stuff with making people welcome, super important. It is something that really is, it's something that you sometimes don't think about as an ambassador, but it really does come up a lot because especially new students do get really, sometimes lonely, just kind of like, especially if they're a little bit like introverted, they're a little bit more scared to like go and talk to people, giving them the opportunity to talk to people and doing all that kind of stuff. And yeah, again, the well-being, sometimes it is literally just as easy as just answering a question, being like, hey, I'm here, you need to talk anytime, or just pointing them in the right direction. Again, as I said before, you're never responsible for people, but it's surprising how much just lending a hand can really help someone in need. It's absolutely amazing. So now let's move on to, for some more interesting, but less interesting, but talk about CV and career skills, because at the end of the day, this is a job and it's something that you can put on your curriculum. So let's go to the first slide. So what skills will you actually get? So at the end of the day, you're in a very customer-facing role, to use some business jargon, but very, you're always interacting with students. You're working as part of a team because you're talking with people here. You're talking with higher ups from Unite. You're organizing events. You're making plans. You're doing all that kind of stuff. So I just kind of put some bullet points of like the main things, some good buzzwords always to put in to associate with the word. You're getting great interpersonal skills because that is the whole job. Most of it is going to be talking to people, organizing events, doing all that kind of stuff. You're going to problem solving because I can assure you events will not go as planned and you're going to need to do some problem solving at some point. Pizza's going to be late, not going to be enough pizza. Put a lot of pressure on pizza. It's my biggest takeaway. Leadership, again, you, as Brian said, you're very autonomous with events. As long as you're not going, completely off the ball, doing some stuff that would ruin your nice reputation, you're left to do pretty much what you want for events. And with that comes leadership. You, at the end of the day, you're the one organizing it, so you're the one responsible for it running well. And if it goes badly, that's going to be, well, your fault, in quotation marks. Organizational skills, again, goes with the leadership. They go hand in hand. Going to be organizing a lot of stuff. We're going to be working on a lot of stuff there. And all that kind of stuff is going to be kind of going through. Multicultural experience, very good thing, especially nowadays. You're going to be working with students from all over the world. All types of cultures, all types of, everything. Universities are a great, beautiful, multicultural place to be. And you learn a lot for it. Last year, I remember so here in Newcastle, we have a very big Asian and specifically Chinese community. So we hosted a couple events specifically targeted to our Chinese and Asian residents, just kind of get them to know each other. We had a WeChat going because that was their preferred method of communication. And we really were trying to accommodate for all kind of people's experiences and, life choices and everything. And that's, again, very important thing if you are trying to work in a customer facing role nowadays. And teamwork, the thing that pretty much any job in the world requires. You will get a lot of teamwork here because you are not working on this alone. You are working with other Unite staff, with other student ambassadors to get these events done. So teamwork is a very big thing as well. You're going on. So move on to the next slide. Again, this is a little bit more stuff, just kind of like what to put into the CV. So I have on my CV just student ambassador for Unite students, and the amount of time that people have brought that up, being like, oh, student ambassador, it looks good. Like, well, what did it actually get you doing? And then from there, you can kind of, leap into more applied stuff. Again, I do computer science, so at the end of the day, I'm in one of the most asocial jobs possible. But even then, they really like seeing that you're doing stuff outside of your studies. A lot of people are doing the studies, a lot of people are doing extracurricular activities, but showing that you are kind of taking that initiative to do stuff outside to gain kind of career skills that aren't directly related to your job is really, really good. On top of this as well, you are throughout the whole time as student ambassador, you're meeting people, be it for events, be it other students, be it people at Unite, you're networking and you're getting connections. You're growing your network, you're getting more people, which is a super duper important thing nowadays. And not just like, connecting through LinkedIn, you're just talking to people, you're getting experiences. I've met so many people on my course now. I've been hit up by a couple of people who were like, oh, we had this idea of making this app or whatever, because they knew I did computer science. And I met them all through this ambassador program. And yeah, as I was saying, taking the initiative and working as a part of a team, just such essential things nowadays to get stuff done. So I think we had a couple questions come in. I just look at the pub. Yeah, absolutely. So as much as work at the pub is good, it really does show up, especially for companies that don't really, not everyone's gonna know what student ambassador is. It just looks really, really good. Can you become a student ambassador if you're an international student? Absolutely. As you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not British. I'm Italian originally. So yeah, absolutely. There's no worries on that. I think there's a couple things with, as long as you have your student visa, if you are non-European, I could be getting this wrong, so this is something that is worth very much Googling. I believe the only difference is that you have a couple limits on hours, but it's not in a kind of range that's going to mean like you're not going to be able to do stuff. It's basically what it is if you're on a student visa, you can't be doing a full-time job, so you're going to be limited to part-time jobs, and this one definitely counts the part-time job. So no worries on that. Do we have any other questions? Is it considered a good part-time, full-time job? Yeah, part-time job, definitely. I believe it. So the way that it works is kind of, you just tell Unite, hey, I worked this amount of hours. They sign that off at the end of the month, and then money shows up in your bank account. It's like magic, really amazing. We'll move on to the next slide, which is just a little bit more about, just kind of our experiences. I'm kind of like at a business point. As I was saying, I'm a computer science student. I'm also postgrad at the moment. So job hunting is a big part-time hobby of mine. But again, the Unite Student Ambassador thing has been brought up so many times. It really is something that draws people's eye, and it is something that people really do appreciate, seeing that you're doing stuff outside. But as well, on top of that, just my experience here is something that I really would not, trade for anything. Yes, the money was nice, yes, the pizza was nice, but it really was fun. Just being able to meet people. The staff are absolutely lovely. Everyone at Unite has given me such an amazing time. And as Brian was saying, you really are kind of considered this like priority student. So you are, you're talking to people that you're seeing. And all that kind of stuff. Just before I pop over to Brian, I saw there's another question. Is there a dress code? I'm currently in an H&M hoodie, so not really, but you do have t-shirts and hoodies for the most part when you're doing kind of just like events or just going around. It's just nice sometimes, especially with new students. So on kind of move-in days, usually you're going to be just in a Unite students, either t-shirt or hoodie, depending on the temperature. Just so the students can spot you when they don't know you. But as soon as they get to know you and you're just doing events, for the most part, not really. Sometimes it's useful, just like if there's, for example, if you're working with security, just so they can spot you. But no, there's no dress, no suit and tie needed for this one. But probably over to Brian to talk about his experiences with it.
Yes, I have worn a dressing gown for an event before because my webcam was off. The experiences that I've had as student ambassador have been absolutely fantastic. And if anyone has lots of questions to ask, I think now is the time to be asking them. Yes, so I've done quite a lot as student ambassador. Move-in day is probably the biggest day of student ambassador. Is probably the biggest day, and probably the highest paid day as well, because it's pretty much 9 to 5 on the Saturday and Sunday when people are starting to move in. But yeah, in terms of, I won't lie, there are some days which can be quite difficult, which can be very, very difficult, and those are the days where you genuinely don't know what to do. I won't say what event. Well, it wasn't events; it was more situations. But this sort of comes with the sort of like a lot of students turn to you for help. But the upside of that is you end up learning more about yourself, I feel, in terms of how do you respond to difficult situations, how do you respond to I wouldn't say adversity, but sometimes it does feel like adversity. I mean, those days are very, very far and few between, very, very far and few between. But I will say, once you come out on the other side of those days, you do feel like a much, much better person than you were at the start of that day. Does anyone have any big burning questions to ask? Will I ever miss being student ambassador? I absolutely will miss being student ambassador. But I mean, I'm going to be graduating next year, and I don't think Unite would let me be student ambassador when I'm not a student. I mean, I will ask the front desk if that's allowed, even though I won't be living there next year. But I'll tell you what, it's probably the best job I've ever had in my life. Best job I've ever had in my life, and I think that I'm going to miss that sort of. Waking up every day, walking through the corridors, and people will know who you are. They'll ask you how your day's been. They'll ask you, "Oh, do you have it? Are there any events coming up?" And that's nice. It's nice to feel appreciated. It's nice to feel like you're making an impact to people's lives. Oh, we have a question. How can you apply to be an ambassador? That's a great question. So I believe it's different for every site. But there'll be some form of posters up in your site, and generally you have to go through a website, send in your details. I think you have to fill in a form, being like, why do you want to apply to be ambassador, and then you have to do some form of interview. I believe there's live and recorded. Yeah, if you speak to the reception team, they'll give you the details for it. But you'll have to go through an interview process. They'll ask you stuff like, why do you like living in wherever it is you're staying? What do you feel like you can bring to the role? What makes you suitable for the role? What other experiences have you done? What challenging times have you faced in your career so far, if anyone has been lucky enough to have a job? What's the weirdest thing that's happened to me as student ambassador? Oh, that's a great question. Okay. I have two answers for that. One is quite a serious answer. I don't know if I should tell you that one. But what I will say about that one was that there was a time where I wasn't so much asked by, basically reception wasn't in. Security was on, they were somewhere else in the building, and I essentially had to essentially diffuse a situation that I shouldn't have had to diffuse. It was weird because of how petty the situation was. Basically, they were arguing. There was these two people arguing over something, and I was like, calm down, guys. This is really nothing to be arguing about, but because you are the person that's there, I kind of had to be the person to do that, otherwise no one was going to do it. I think that's probably the weirdest thing that's happened. But I suppose the most lighthearted weirdest thing that's happened to me would probably be oh god, I don't know.
Don't take your time thinking. I can steal it from you.
Go on you go.
All right, cheers. So I've got a really good one. So first event ever had to host, right? It was we were gonna have this lovely party night over in the kind of student what's it called, in the common room. I've forgotten the name. I haven't been there in so long. But So basically, we had the DJ come in. Cool. He was about an hour late. Happens. Comes in, didn't bring any cables. So he just brought a DJ deck with no cables. So the guy was like, "Oh no, I can't DJ." So I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Can I have your phone?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess you can have my phone." Downloads one of those like little DJ apps on the phone, and he was there for 2 hours on my phone, just like scratching records. I was like, he was really good. It was just really weird situation with his like little glow up speakers and everything. It was wild. It was wild. I don't remember that. Go for it.
Actually, I remember what my most light-hearted, weirdest one would be. So there were student ambassadors over at the other site in Glasgow. There's a student ambassadors at the other site in Glasgow, and they essentially held an event which they wanted me to bring my students to, because the good thing about online COVID and all that is that you can share events. But the weird thing about that event was that none of the hosts for that event actually turned up, and it was me, and it sort of delegated to me. So I put that on my timesheet. I put that on my timesheet because I was essentially the one running that event.
You should.
Oh no, I definitely did. And I made sure that the other student ambassadors knew about that as well. Has being an SA had an impact on your own mental health / well-being? Yes. Both positive, and again, there are some days that make you feel a bit because of how difficult. Like, it's not a difficult job, but there are some days, and I think it just applies for anything really. There are some days where it is quite tiring, very very tiring. But those days are so far and few between. Again, the majority of the days are like Alex says, it's pizza, it's fun, and it's socializing. That's what it is.
It's challenges that come with any job, pretty much. You know, as soon as you start working, you're gonna have those off days, and it's normal. But again, you have a good supportive environment here where you're allowed to like have those off days, make those mistakes, which is the good part of it.
It entirely depends on how busy your course is, how difficult your personal life is, because if you've got a lot going on in your outside life, it will naturally spill into your work, and that applies to any job, not just student ambassador. But that being said, student ambassador has brought me great benefits, as having friends I hopefully will have for a long time now. It's brought me benefits such as getting paid. That's great. That's another good one. But also in terms of my own personal development, I feel like a much better person, just for having done this job. And had I not done this job at all over COVID, over the last 7-8 months, I dare say it probably would have been worse, because this has given me something. It's given me a purpose. It's given me something to work towards, and I think overall it has been a very positive experience. What about you, Alex?
Absolutely. No, especially this year, I found myself, last year and this year, it really has given me something just to do. It's been really fun, and as well with COVID, it being harder to meet new people. I'm a very extroverted person, so I really love just talking and meeting people, and this has been like the best outlet for that. And again, as Brian says, the money's great, the CV is great, pizza's great, but it really is. If you like being part of a community, in this case specifically a student community, I do not think there's a better way to get involved there. As Brian says, just walking down the halls, people knowing who you are, being like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" And all that kind of stuff. It's genuinely fantastic. I saw as well someone wrote, "What advice would you give to someone in a wheelchair?" I would say absolutely go for it. Absolutely go for it. Do not let anything like that kind of like let you down. If there are things that you're unable to do or whatever, you can work with staff with that. You can kind of get that done. Maybe if you find it more difficult, doing the parcels or whatever, parcels or whatever, students can help out with that. But again, there should be no reason. All the buildings are wheelchair accessible. More than happy to have you on the team.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well is that there are some days I genuinely forget this is a job. There are genuinely some days I forget this is a job. And I sometimes actually forget to put things on my timesheet. I'm sure I've lost a few hours before already, because I was just so wrapped up in it, thinking, oh yeah, this is just this is me just living my day-to-day life. But I think that's probably that's a sign of a good job if you forget it's a job. You're doing something you genuinely like. But yeah, as Alex says, what advice would you give to someone in a wheelchair? Go for it. That's all I can say. Just go for it. Yes, any last questions for us? We're more than happy to answer anything about being student ambassador. When it comes to balancing student ambassador with being in uni, I suppose that just it's like anything else really. If you're working, I don't know, Morrison's or Asda, it's just like balancing that with balancing uni, but except you have a lot more flexibility with this job. You choose your hours, and if you feel like you've got a dissertation to hand in March, fine. Like you'll have the time to do your dissertation. Maybe as long as if you do even 1 hour a week, just 2 hours, just planning something else. I mean, you should be setting that time aside anyway if you're in uni, just for your own mental well-being. Like, there's more to life than just uni. And the one thing I will say is, when you graduate uni, you won't get the chance to be student ambassador again. So grab all the opportunities you can, because you only regret the things in life that you don't do. Absolutely.
For sure. The only thing I will say to Brian is, if you're going to apply to be a student ambassador, the only thing is, it's fine to apply like on a whim, do it for fun. But at the end of the day, if you're a student ambassador, that doesn't mean that someone else isn't. So do be just kind of like actually wanting to do it.
Yes.
If you're going to be a student ambassador, then just be like, oh, I'm busy, I can't do it. Again, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to be a student ambassador and wanting to do something else instead. But if you are applying, at the end of the day, you are taking on a responsibility to be kind of like,
yes,
a figure in the community. So do just keep that in mind. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say take your shot. Take your shot while you still have the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when I said I was bored and I wanted to do something, I obviously wanted to do it as well. Because we had student ambassadors in the previous year, which I won't lie, weren't very good. But they were with another company at the time before we joined Unite. So I'm allowed to say that. But I genuinely wanted to make a difference in my building, and I wanted to create a community. And I dare say that this year, and this might be helped because of COVID, but I dare say this year we're a lot closer this year than we were last year, because we had events that got people up and talking, we got people that that wouldn't have been joining in these things anyway. So overall, I dare say, be a student ambassador. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So if we have any more questions, I don't see anything in the new box. Closing statements. Come be a student ambassador. Follow me on TikTok at Brian Maitland1. I need more followers. I'm on my way to 20k, and I'm stuck on 13 right now. And follow me on Instagram as well at Brian Maitland. There we are. Be a student ambassador, guys.
Be a student ambassador and follow Brian. Go for it, guys. Don't follow my TikTok. It's not very funny. Right, guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thanks for all the awesome questions. If you guys do have any questions that you think of later, didn't want to put them in the chat, just go up to your reception, ask the people there. They'll either tell you who to email or they'll tell you themselves. If you do want to be a student ambassador, go ask, go push now, because I think the kind of push, all the interviews and stuff will be starting kind of like soonish. So go for it, guys. We believe in you. Hell yeah. Best of luck, guys. And thank you guys so much for coming to the event.
Thank you very much,
Brian,
guys,
for hosting with me.
Thank you, Alex, for having me.
Ooh. All right, catch you guys later. Have a lovely evening, guys. See you guys.